Welcome
to the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 289 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley, and I look like a lobster. I don't know what's happened to my lighting in here, or the color balance. Let me just try and adjust this real quick. Yeah, not sure what had happened. Maybe I'd hit some kind of button, but my camera settings had changed, and I looked like I had a really bad sunburn. Hello, and welcome to episode 289 of The Joy of Coding. My name's Mike Conley. Going to be hacking on some Firefox stuff today. It's so good to have you here. I'm really excited to get started, so let's get going. Here's my screen. So yeah, today is May 11th, 2022, episode 289. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I don't know what's going to happen today. I'm back in the office, in the Toronto Mozilla office, which means that I'm using some equipment that I don't normally use or I haven't used in a while. And so things might go a little wrong. Like one of the things that I discovered while I was setting up the stream is that the keyboard I was working with didn't like to type the letter M or N, which is, those are important letters. So I had to swap that out. And stuff like that might happen throughout the course of the stream. That's okay. I'm also using a new microphone. Hopefully the sound's coming through all right. I see the little VU meter is showing me that sound is going out, so hopefully sound's coming into your ears. But yeah, if things go wrong, that's okay. We're gonna do our best here. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention is that the agenda that we're looking at is something that you have access to. If you're watching this on YouTube, check out the video description. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, check out the details section of this video. If you're watching this on Diode, because that's a new thing Whoop, hold on a second. That's a new thing. That's a new thing I'm streaming to. Diode.zone is it's a PeerTube instance. If you're not familiar with what PeerTube is, it's like you run your own YouTube, and they're federated, so they can kind of talk to one another, and it uses ActivityPub. So if you happen to use something like Mastodon or some other like ActivityPub system, you can subscribe to a PeerTube channel like mine, which is now on diode.zone. So yeah, if you're watching this on PeerTube on diode.zone, it should be in the details of this live stream. So that's pretty exciting. Hopefully that's working out. And yeah, that's everywhere. Oh, the Twitch people. For the Twitch people, let me drop the agenda link into the chat. It's gone into the Twitch chat now. So there's episode 289's agenda. Someone asked me how I am doing. Hello, Vinit Kami. I'm doing well. It's so good to have you here. I also want to mention there is an episode guide to this series. If you're curious about what I've worked on in the past, maybe you haven't watched the series before and you want to know the sorts of things I've worked on, or maybe you're watching this in the future and you want to add some addenda, notes, corrections, etc., expand on some stuff, you can contribute to the episode guide. It's completely viewer-driven. It's hosted on GitHub. You can send me a pull request, and I will merge your changes into the episode guide. It's a resource for you, by you. Do with it as you will. I'm pretty liberal with my merging. Special shout out to Smurf D, who is our prolific episode guide contributor. If you're curious about what I mean by pull request, repository, etc., there's a contributing guide here in the agenda to let you know how to get started. Phantom1337 wants to know how long I've been up. Just asked uptime. I don't know what that means. Here, let me try that command. Okay, so what I want to work on today is 1354248. Now, I know last week we were working on this Zoom thing. We were working on some controls, like updating our controls that manage like the Zoom state of the browser, and we might get back to that today. But I'm actually working on something right now that I wanted to try and get over the edge that I thought you might find kind of interesting. This is not a thing that we've talked about on the stream before. I started it late last week, and I was working on it kind of off and on. And I'm at a point now where it kind of works, but I think now that I've... no commands available about formin. Okay. Now that I've... if anyone wants to ask me about the command I used, just let me know. You might want to ask me what it is. So this is something that let's just get into the description of it. So if you follow the link in the agenda, you'll get to this bug. So we have a protocol. Like by protocol, I mean like HTTPS. Like HTTP is a protocol that we use for communicating over the network. We have a couple of different protocols that we support. We used to support FTP. We don't anymore. But there are other protocols that we do support. We primarily support HTTP. We support the file system protocol for like looking at your file system. If you've ever seen a URL that's like file : / that's using something called the file system protocol. If you've ever used a web extension in Firefox, you might have seen Moz-extension. That's a particular type of protocol. Lots of different protocols. And there's one that we use in Firefox called page-icon. And we mainly use it in the parent process. We mainly use it in the UI. And let me give you an example of it being used. Let me run a build here. Thank you, Denshub, for walking into my trap, my very clever trap. You hit my trap card. So what is page icon protocol? So page icon protocol helps us. Here, let me pull up the toolbox debugger and we can take a look at an example of us using the page icon protocol. So this is an instance of Firefox where I've got some browsing history. I've gone to a couple of different websites, and I've got like this list of recent history entries. And hang on a second, I actually have to work around a bug before I forget. There's a bug in our toolbox where if I highlight the body, opened pop-ups go away and then they don't reopen. So now that I've worked around that, so we've got our list of icons here. And if I inspect this item, we can see that there is an image for the toolbar button. I don't know if you can see this. The image is page-icon : and then a URL. So it's a very strange looking protocol where like the thing that comes after the colon is an actual URL for a website. And this is not a protocol that exists out on the web. This is not a thing that you can use in your own website. This is a thing that internally Firefox and Gecko understands, and it works quite well. You know, you pass it the URL of something, and if it knows what the favicon is supposed to be for that particular site, it will render it. Great. And if it doesn't know what it's supposed to be, it renders sort of the our default icon for whenever we don't know what a website's favicon should be. Like, I think example.com's, if we look at the history, is, yeah, like that's, they don't have a favicon for example .com. So the favicon is this like globe thing, and that's built into Firefox. So that's what the page icon protocol does. Great. Now, everything up here in this panel, everything up here in the tabs that uses favicons, this is all running in the parent process. This, on the other hand, these favicons in here, some of which are like high-res favicons, these are all running in, this is running in a special content process called the privileged about content process. The privileged about content process is like a special content process that only runs pages, local pages that we control, like about home, about new tab, and like about certificate viewer, I think runs in there. You know, there aren't many, but they're all just like local pages. None of this is being like pulled down over the network or anything. This is a local page. Even though these links, like for the pocket stories, we went and got the list of pocket stories in the parent process. What's being rendered here is all local. And so these favicons, the way they're rendered, if we take a look right now, if we like go and open up our dev tools, there is like a for known websites, for ones like Facebook, which are well known, we have some built-in favicons that we can use easily. For other websites, like for example, if we were to add, let's add mozilla.org. Now, after a while, it's gonna, like if we go to mozilla.org, we're gonna learn what the favicon is, and then eventually we might actually get this updated. I think that's how that works. Or maybe I have to like edit it. Mozilla.org. You can use a custom image. I'm kind of waffling a little bit because I'm not sure why that's not using the page icon protocol right now. So forgive me for a second here. Let's open up the DevTools again. It's using this like fallback, but it could use the page icon protocol. Like if I get more history, maybe if I show a couple of rows. Get some, oh, there. Now it finally figured it out. I guess I had to like flush something. So here's the icon. See how we're having to do it? We're like packaging up this data URI for this favicon and sending it down to the privileged about content process. And that's because the page icon protocol does not work outside of the parent process. It only works in the parent process. And so in order to get favicons working in the privileged about content process, we had to kind of like work around this limitation and send like a full-blown data URI down to the privileged about content process for just this page. Like this instance gets its own like copy of this string. And we don't share those copies. So, you know, if I open up a bunch of tabs here, if I open up a bunch of new tabs, every instance is getting a copy of this data URI, and that can accumulate quite a bit of memory, especially for a very sophisticated favicon, maybe a rich favicon, large high-resolution favicon. We will get a very large data URI, and that's bad for memory, and it's bad for performance. You know, we hold on to these strings until the page goes away, and you know, one of the optimizations that we make with the new tab is that we load one in the background. And so like this, basically what I'm trying to say is there's an opportunity for memory savings and simplifying a lot of the mechanisms that exist right now to send a data URI down to here. Like what would be ideal is if we could get the page icon protocol to work here instead. And guess what? Let me open up the DevTools because I've got a patch currently applied. Let me pull open the DevTools. Let's look at this one. I'm going to change the URL here to be, I'm just going to get rid of all that, and I'm going to say, oops, background image, URL, page icon, www.mozilla.org. See, it works. I've gotten it to work. That's because I've got a patch applied. That's cool. You know, that's good. Look how much shorter that is compared to that massive data URI. Now, the problem is that we need to have that behavior if, like, we don't recognize the site. We're supposed to show the globe icon. You know, we're supposed to say, like, oh, I've never heard of this thing, so show the globe. And that doesn't work. And I was asking around, I asked sort of one of our DOM specialists about this. And Nika was talking about how the way I'm currently doing this, I'm taking advantage of some nice like pipe stuff that recently got added by the DOM team. But I'm missing some information. Particularly, I'm failing to send the MIME type. The MIME type is needed whenever you render this thing, and because the channel that I'm creating for the default, like, hang on a second, I get this channel, new stream. Basically, the way that this currently works is I stream the bytes down from the parent to the child to show the icon. That's good. But the problem is that if it's an SVG or something that can't, like our networking stuff can't sniff properly, the way I'm streaming this stuff doesn't have enough information to tell our image rendering system how to like show it. And the way that used to work is because like we would use these channels. A channel is something that wraps a stream of bytes with like additional metadata. You open a channel, you can stream stuff, you get stuff from a stream, and you know stuff about it, like what the MIME type is, who the channel, like what the stream is, the address, the URI of the channel, that sort of thing. And channel is kind of like this abstract thing where I make I'm fetching something from somewhere. I'm opening a channel somewhere, like in Star Trek, like open a channel, but it could be like the file system, it could be over the network, it could be anywhere. And you give it like a URI that it understands, and then you can get a stream of bytes back. And the problem with my current implementation is I'm just proxying the streaming of bytes. I'm not creating a channel, or I'm not properly creating a channel with enough information for the image renderer to render things properly in certain types of images. And it looks like the way I've kind of been doing this, Nika had some other feedback for me. Might actually need a more complex step where you explicitly send the data back rather than using a pipe. So I was just using this pipe to stream stuff down. I need to be able to get metadata like that with a payload. And the way I was going about it was kind of hacky too. I used like the wrong number of segments, and I probably want to use NS-new pipe rather than data pipe. Seems as though you do pass the sender directly into the callback in the in-process case, so you should be able to get away with it in the cross. Appears as though you do pass the sender directly into the callback in the in-process case. You should be able to get away with it in the cross-process case too. It only works because you never try to write more than 64K of data. The code is broken if the stream is ever larger. Pass the sender directly to the callback. Might be able to get away with it in the cross-process case too. That only works because you never try to write more than 64 kilobytes of data. The code is broken if the stream is ever larger. Okay, so I think what I want to do actually is use a more sophisticated, like this whole data pipe thing isn't really going to work out for me. I think I need to actually like defer creating a channel, basically swap in a channel once we get the information from the parent. And there's actually a pre-existing protocol that does this called the page thumb protocol handler. And how does this work? How does it work? How does it work? I have to sort of like remember how this works. So there's this like channel substitution thing going on. That's what we want to do, is we want to like sub a channel in. New simple channel. It's tricky because like we don't know certain information about the channel, like the MIME type, until after we've like we kind of need to respond with like the MIME type, basically. So maybe we can still use the channel. How does this work? How does it work in the current case for the page thumb protocol handler? Maybe I should back up a little bit and talk a little bit about how it currently works. So in the parent process, what happens is we get something external. Like the DOM has noticed, for example, that we've added page icon, an image with a page icon background or something, and yada yada yada. Eventually, we get here. Something knows that we've registered a handler for page-icon and asks us for a channel for a particular URI, the one that we put into the image. And we get a channel, and what happens is we create, well, I added some of this stuff. I create a pipe, I create a channel, create an input stream channel, and then I set some load info, and then in the parent process case, we pass that channel into this favicon data callback. That favicon data callback knows to, upon like completing the fetch, it then sets the content type and the content length. And I think that's what we need to somehow do, is like the parent needs to send that information down, the length and the type, down to the content process along with the stream. And then in the channel that gets created in the content process, because we do create one, we hand it back, we need to set those values. So basically, we can't just like dumbly send the end of a pipe to the parent process. We have to get information back down. So that's going to involve a couple of things. So let's start writing some stuff down. Active bugs. Okay. These are my notes for this ticket. Here's what I want to try. Let's modify Neko pNeko. That's the cross-process IPC protocol, so that we get a promise back instead that resolves with the channel, with the content type and content length data, and then make sure that we're going to update what are we going to do here? We're going to update P. Hang on. What is the order that occurs in? It's like we set the content type and then we write. And then we close. It's interesting, like, I wonder if the channel waits for this information. Like, if you were to write before or asynchronously write some information and then the channel is written to afterwards, I wonder what happens. I'm actually really curious about that. Let's test that. Test what happens if the content type and length is written to after the stream, input stream, or the output stream rather, is closed. Does the parent process still render the image? If so, then we're probably okay to keep the current pipe behavior. We just need the extra type and length data to write to the channel in the child. So let's get that information first, because I think that's going to influence our solution. If it doesn't work, we're going to have to come up with something slightly different. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rearrange some of this stuff. And as result, RV equals that, and then like return RV. So we've returned that stuff. I'm also going to do the same thing for the fallback when we like channel stream the default favicon. Let's put that afterwards. Set content type. We can't fully, like, we don't get to see the writing of the default favicon. Output stream is here. It's only whenever the listener says it's complete that we close the stream. Output stream, simple stream listener, observer, and we close default icon channel. We might not be able to simulate this perfectly for the default favicon case. Sync open listener. But at least we can do it in the non-default icon. Here's some silly logging I've put in before. You can just ignore that. So let's build See what happens. I'm curious if anyone is actually watching this on diode.zone. If you're watching this on diode.zone and you've never well, first of all, I'm very curious to know how that's going. And the way you can get in touch with me, I mean, you can communicate to me over Mastodon. You know, here's my handle on mastodon.social. I'm mconley at mastodon.social. You can also get in touch with me on Twitter. Or if you want to chat synchronously, there is information in the agenda on how to access our Matrix chat room. I'm in the Mozilla Matrix chat room. You can reach out to me there. We're bridged to the Twitch chat. I'm hoping that this can sort of be like the central chat place, regardless of where you're watching The Joy of Coding. All right, so how's our build going? Just linking part. It's not even a joke. No one is watching on diode.zone, says Smurf D. All right, well, you got to start small. Is the stream working though? Does it work? I guess that's what I want to know. It was kind of working for my you know, I could probably answer that myself actually. Let's take a look at diode.zone. Hey, so it is working. Pretty cool. Well, it's a little bit behind. Looks like there's a little bit of like lag there. Frame droppage. Not bad. All right. Okay, so I want to see what it looks like if we... Yeah, like these still work. These still work if you set the channel like after you're done writing. After you're done writing. Because like we closed the output stream after we were done writing, and then we set the channel information. And that was still okay for rendering these in the parent process. So that means we stand a pretty good chance actually of keeping the pipe stuff that we've got. We just need to send that extra data down. So let's go back to our notes. So let me write down what happens. Did this. It seemed to work okay, which means we can probably just keep the pipe stuff and send the extra data down in parallel. All right, so that's what we're going to do now. We're going to modify pneco.ipdl. If you've never seen IPDL, this is what it looks like. No syntax highlighting. Sublime doesn't know what we're looking at. But what we need to do is we need to tell it that it returns. We're going to get back certain information. Returns not just a stream. We're returning a... what were the two pieces of information? The content type and the length. And both of those, I think it makes sense for those to be... What does it make sense for those to be? It makes sense for those to be... Content type is a string of some kind, but what kind of string? If we look at existing messages in here, type, network change notification, so maybe NSC string, like content type. Let's see if there are existing messages. .ipdl. Okay, so yeah, NSC string seems to be how people like to do this, although pbrowser uses NS string. pcontent uses NSC string. NSC string. The consensus seems to be NSC string, so that's what I'm going to use. So we're going to say that this returns page icon. Returns NSC string content type And we also need the length. Content length. Content length. Int 64t, probably an unsigned int is probably fine. Well, can the content length ever be a negative number? Maybe that's a special, maybe we need to know that if the content length is a negative number. So let's look at the definition of channel. Set content, content length. The length of the data associated with the channel, if available. Value of -1 indicates that the content length is unknown. Okay. 64-bit value and obsoletes content length property used on some channels. So we actually need this to be an assigned integer. So int 64t. Content length. So we're going to get that information back down. And whenever we do this sort of thing where we like get a thing back, we're returning what's called a Moz promise. Our IPC infrastructure knows how to make sense of that. I also wonder if there's like a better way of formatting this so that it looks more readable. Like something like that. What does it look like if I turns? Yeah, that might be better. So how does that work? So we can use get page thumbstream as an example. If we look at, I think it's Neko child? Get page thumbstream? No. Is it page thumb protocol handler? Yes. You pass it the arguments, and then you can use this sort of like C++y then stuff, which is nice. I don't know where the main thread event target comes from. Oh, that's interesting. Some kind of event target. Then, and then in this case, we get a stream back, but we are not getting a stream back. We're getting we're getting just the content type and the content length, which is probably simpler because this on-stream stuff is pretty intense. It's like, it's got to do like all of this setup. It's like canceling, has to figure out whether or not to cancel a stream. Then we have to create a stream pump thing. Probably unnecessary. Channel. Do we ever, out of curiosity, set content type? Page thumb protocol handler, set content type. New simple channel, set content type is content type, which is get type from the URI. We just use the URI to figure out what the content type is. I mean, I guess we could do that too, but like, I feel like what we really want is, oh, the URI is not going to tell us what the content type is. So this is an interesting case where like the page thumb protocol handler knows that, I think from the URI, it's able to figure out the content type, but like page icon URIs, which look like this, there's nothing in this URI which will tell you what is the type of the favicon. That is information we only get after we attempt to fetch it. CJ Steele asks, what are you making? You're a learner. Well, hello, a learner. Learner CJ. Happy to have you here. I'm trying to make the page icon protocol work properly in the privileged about content process in Firefox down here, so that we get page icons like this. And I've kind of got it working, but I need it to work better. That's what I'm working on. Because it's not working in certain cases. In particular, it's not working when the favicon that's being returned is an SVG. And so we need more information from the parent process. Okay, so I have modified the protocol so that it is getting back the content type and the content length. We need to like change how this stuff works now, because the receive get, yeah, we need to add another thing on the end here. The out param, it's kind of like a how this whole promise thing works over IPC is when you're returning a result, you have to return some kind of resolver. In this particular case, we need something called a page icon stream resolver. And we're going to have to define it. So we have something called a page thumb stream resolver, and we need the page icon stream resolver. The page thumb stream resolver is something that the page thumb protocol handler uses. I'm using the page thumb protocol handler really as like a template. And page thumb get page icon stream resolver. Is that something that just kind of gets generated? Get page thumb stream resolver. Yeah, it does just kind of get generated. So we need to just make reference to it inside of neko parent.h, neko parent.h rather, and it'll know what that means. Page icon stream resolver. I guess what's important is the magic that's happening is like the name get page icon stream here matches this. And so the generated resolver thing is just going to be that same name with resolver put at the end. So now that we've changed our header, we need to change the definition of our implementation. So we're going to add another argument here. The argument was this. And we need to resolve. This is really interesting. We basically want newsstream probably to return a promise with the content type and the content length, and then have receive get page icon stream, then resolve this promise with that. I guess we could pass this into newsstream and have newsstream be responsible for resolving. But that makes it so that newsstream needs to know kind of like what a get page icon stream resolver is. And I don't like that. This is like a very IPC thing. It's a very like neko parent, neko child thing. And I don't want to have to make newsstream know what that is. So yeah, basically I want this. Input stream promise. I'm going to say basically the same thing. Then we're going to get the main thread serial event target. We're going to resolve not with the stream. We're going to resolve with the content type and the content length and resolve with that. Okay. Let's just resolve right now saying nothing. We're going to resolve with a content type of, I guess, can I just give it the empty string? Can I give it a literal like that? Returns an SC string. What happens if like, I'm going to just like look at some examples. Type from extension. That uses a slightly different form. This put stream returns. Put stream. Parent. Could I just like write it in? Like, I'm curious to know what the header's actually going to look like, the generated header. Let's just build this for now and see what happens. This is going to take a second, because it's got to like regenerate all the IPC stuff. But I'm actually really curious to see what header gets generated. Because, you know, if we look at pnecho, we can see that this thing returns an NSI input stream. It's an async method. Oh, I think that's the difference. That's the difference why, you know, I was looking at this one. This is a synchronous function. And so when it returns, we can just write into the value. This is async, meaning I think we have to do something slightly different, like collect perf stats JSON. Let's look at this one. When we receive collect perf stats JSON, yeah, there's the resolver. Okay. Okay, so I think we've done it right. We're just not doing anything with the resolver. We're not resolving with anything. So we're going to need to do that next. What do I want to do? I want this to return a promise. A promise that resolves with the content type and the content length that I will then pass into a resolve. It's a little like, you know, a promise into a promise, but hey, back off. It's all right. So, terminate sender. I want this format. New stream. So it's more like this. Input stream promise equals ph new stream terminate child. I'm gonna say, and that is like not a return value. So I'll say if terminate child I guess we don't need to close status and it's error failure. We just need to IPC fail. Input stream promise. That thing that we had in here of close with status and it's error failure, we're gonna actually want that in the rejection case, I think. So in the resolve case, we're gonna call a resolve. Wow, my machine is just choking right now. Hopefully I'm not dropping too many frames. I've dropped 1.1% of my frames. I apologize for that. But sometimes building and streaming is a bit much for this machine. It used to be a lot worse. In the machine before this, for the folks who maybe don't remember, I had to have a separate machine to actually do the streaming to like my Restream distributor, because my laptop would just overheat and then die. It would just die. Let's see here. I'm also noticing there's a little bit of a delay. Is that off just a little bit? We might have to make some adjustments to the timing of things, some buffering offsets and whatnot. Oh, okay, of course, yeah, that's why you're complaining. A resolve with content type, content length. Reject. These are just notes for myself. So we need to get this input stream promise, and then we're going to basically do this stuff. We haven't even set up what, like this return value, this promisey thing does not exist yet, but we are going to get there. And this is not an input stream promise. We're going to say like content promise, content data promise. Or maybe I'll call it favicon data promise. Favicon info? Yeah, favicon info promise. And then we get the resolver. Instead of a input stream, we're going to be getting a const. Well, I guess we don't know yet. I haven't really done this, so I'm just going to stub this out. It's not going to compile. Content type, content length, and then we're going to resolve. We're going to pass that along. Content type, content length, and if it fails, then we are going to close with status. A sender. Close with status. ARV. Maybe. And a resolver null pointer. I guess we'll resolve with nothing. Is that returns? So that doesn't exactly work because the resolver takes these two things. So I'm gonna say, like, I can just send like 0 and the empty string, like C string literal. Can I just like a Mozilla string literals? I need to remember how to do this. Template literals, C++, literal, and it's literal C string, which usually through NS and UNS, user defined string literals. Okay, so that's what I want. What is U? It's truly construct mode is not emit construction as opposed to the other string classes. What is this? U. What's the difference there? Oh, probably Unicode. Yeah, we don't need Unicode. This is a C string. So just like that is probably fine. Empty string and 0. And we now need to define this return value. So the way that this works over here is that new stream for the page thumb protocol handler, new stream, returns this thing called a page thumb stream promise. A page thumb stream promise is a Moz promise that takes this as its like template arguments. So we're gonna copy this approach. We're gonna define a page icon. You know what? That's probably what we should have called it. Not favicon. It should have been page icon. Page icon info. Page icon info promise. We don't need this anymore. And that page icon info promise, doesn't get a stream, gets back a type NSC string and a int 64t. And we're going to return a ref pointer, not an as result. Return a ref pointer to a page icon info promise. That's how that works down here, right? Yeah. We're going to update the documentation now. Page icon info promise. Page icon info promise will resolve with the NSC string content type, the content type, I guess I can just say content type and content length of the discovered of the returned favicon, page icon. Okay. So we've got that thing, and we need to now return that from NewStream. So we've set up our contract. So NewStream, instead of returning an NS result, how does page thumb protocol handler do this? NewStream. We're really using that as our template. So we like, that's the format. Page icon info promise. And I think we have to use like using. There's up here, it's like using page thumb protocol handler. Using page thumb stream promise. Somewhere we're using. It may have been in Neko parent. Page thumb stream promise. Using. Oh, yeah, I'd already done that part. Here. Got it. Now we're probably going to have to need to bring in Ma's promise as well. I forgot about that. So let's bring that in. Wow, what is my machine is very busy right now. I hear it like the fans are a fanning. What's taking all the time? Let's look at what my CPU. My camera settings are apparently taking a lot of time. I'm going to close camera settings. OBS, of course. But I think my camera settings were really like taking a lot of my CPU. So I've closed that now. Hopefully that's okay. That's going to make things better. Okay. I need to get the Ma's promise stuff in here. So page thumb protocol handler, Ma's promise. What's the... I want to do an alphabetical order. CMS, yeah. So we've got Ma's promise, C string, in64T. We got our ref pointer here. Inside of page icon protocol handler, we've got that being the return value. I need to now do the correct thing with return values. So page thumb protocol handler, the way it does this is it will create and reject with certain error codes. So it's going to reject the promise. So that's basically what we want to do in all of our error cases. Create and reject. Page icon info promise. Create and reject. And then create and reject again here. And then down here as well. Oh. This error unexpected. New string, and then if NS failed, reject with the return value. So all these NS ensure successes we're going to have to get rid of, because those are actually macros that return failed states. So if NS failed here, we're going to do this. If NS failed, we're going to do that again here. And then async copy. Now, what is the way that page icon or page thumb protocol handler handles like actually doing the right thing whenever we're not failing? Aha, here's what we do. We're going to return a promise. Okay, I think this is what we want? We want something like this. We're going to kind of cargo cult a little bit here, but maybe we can then explain what's going on. We're going to dispatch a background task, a new runnable function. We're going to call, I guess, give it the ID of page icon protocol handler new stream. Promise holder channel. So we create a function that accepts. Oh, we're creating a lambda that accepts the channel and something called the holder. We just need the holder. I think we don't need the channel. Or do we need the channel? Do we create a channel in here? We don't, but we need to. We need to. Oh, this is awkward. Because basically we need to wait until the channel has been closed. Complete. In here. On complete. Favicon data callback. Is there anything that gets called? So basically what we have in like existing right now is something that will like get the channel that you pass to it populated with the content type and whatnot. But that's all asynchronous. This is all synchronous. And basically what we need to do is we need to know when streaming is complete. Complete. So basically here, we need to know when this is done. So we might actually need to pass in, instead of a channel, we might need to pass in some kind of like resolver. A promise that we can then resolve with this channel information. And so even in the parent case, in the parent process case, we can still use the same pattern and do this outside. We'll do this over here. Not in new stream, but down in here. We'll have some kind of like then that writes the channel information. Would that work? Get the callback. Pass the resolver. Wheels within wheels. Just Cuz says, hey, Mike. Hello, Just Cuz. Nice to hear from you. So this isn't exactly going to work out for us. What we really need to do is return a promise that we pass the resolver the resolver holder. Promise holder. Moz promise holder. Can we pass that through the favicon callback up here? Like we construct this first, pass the promise holder. I think that might be better. And then we're naturally going to be running this off of the main thread because the fetching of this stuff always or not off of the main thread, it will necessarily happen asynchronously because the favicon service always works asynchronously. So we don't need that. What I really do think is we need a promise holder up here. Page icon info promise. And then the page icon info promise equals this. And then we just return that if all went well. Probably want to do this later on. Preferred size. Page URI. It's like we really only need it here. Favicon callback. And so that thing I moved up here can move back down here. Promise holder. Return promise. This might actually compile. It's not going to work, but it might compile. We're basically never going to resolve that promise just yet. Just Cuz says, I still remember your awesome sneezing joke, and I enjoy telling it from time to time. I don't remember that joke at all. Can you remind me what that joke is? I don't remember that joke. This is your chance to tell it, or type it at least, and then I can read what you type, and I will credit you for crediting me for telling the joke. What's the sneezing joke? Still doesn't like it. It doesn't like it because there's a lot of gunk here, but basically too few template arguments for class template moz promise. And everything just kind of falls out from that. Use of undeclared identifier page icon info promise. Because, yeah, this moz promise can't be created. So we need to look at that. Moz promise. What is the template structure for a moz promise? Moz promise. Resolve value, reject value is exclusive. So we actually need to supply resolve value. Oh, I see. I see. We need like a union actually. Resolve value. The reject value. The reject value is an NS result. And what was the last template param? Is exclusive. What does that mean? Is exclusive. The Moz promise is a release mode assertion that there is at most one call to either then or chain to. Yeah, okay, is exclusive. True. Let's do that. Now, I want to actually return multiple things. Can I do a union? Or like, what is launch results? Launch results is a struct. Maybe that's what I want. Struct. Page icon info. It's a NSC string. We're going to call it M content type. And then we have, the int64t content length. And that's what we're going to pass. Page icon info. Does that work? Do you like that? How do you like that? Okay, oh, apparently I said whenever sneezing. I must have done multiple sneezing, and then I made a Jurassic Park reference where I said that they travel in herds. Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad that's still useful to you. Maybe I'll make another Jurassic Park joke. Let me just try and come up with one on the fly. Oh, hold on a second. I'm going to try and come up with an original Jurassic Park joke on the fly in just a second, once I get this to compile. Original Jurassic Park joke. Let's see. Original Jurassic Park joke. It's probably going to be a pun. Those are my go-tos whenever I need to quickly make a joke. Oh, still not compiling. What's going on here? Oh, I'm missing my semicolons. 221. How did that get out of there? How did I miss that semicolon? Use of undeclared identifier, page thumb stream promise. Whoops. 262, that's some copy paste failure. Page icon info promise. That's what I need. All right. Jurassic Park joke. Come on, make it happen. Why do people fly to Jurassic Park? Because they like to dinosaur through the air. All right. First time that joke has ever been told. Probably the last time that joke will ever be told. The resolver it's hating what I've got in here right now. I'm seeing a bunch of traffic of people going like, "Hey," but that's very kind of you. That's very kind of you, but I know it wasn't that good. All right, Neko parent. The resolver. It's gonna get a page icon info. And we're going to pass in the info.m content type, the info.m content length. We're actually going to call that a info because that we tend to do that. Resolver. How do we reject? resolver reject. Oh, mod's promise rejection is reserved for channel errors or disconnects, so we'll just resolve with empty. We'll close. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Build. Danny Colin says, I hope you will immortalize this joke in the agenda. I can take that. I will take responsibility. I'm not going to make Smurf D commit that horrible crime of writing down that joke. Jurassic Park joke. Mike's terrible Jurassic Park joke. Why do people like to fly to Jurassic Park? Because they like to dinosaur there. Badum tish. Still doesn't like it. Page icon info. Oh, it's never even heard of it. We need to say we're using it. Do we do using here? Using, yeah. We need using page icon info. What's our time? 2:18. I just want this to compile. That'd be great. That'd be a great start. And then we need to, I think what I want to do after that, if we can get that to compile. I mean, working with promises in C++ is wild stuff. I'm not used to it. It's pretty neat. But what I think we want to do is we want to pass the promise resolver into the, and how does that work? We get the promise holder. We want to pass the holder into the callback thing, the favicon data callback thing, instead of passing the channel. So the favicon data callback never tries to write into a channel ever. It just gets a resolver function that will resolve with the favicon information, and then the caller then needs to supply the promise resolution stuff. I think that's better. Still won't compile. Come on, what's going wrong? A resolve, use of undeclared identifier. Did I mean resolve? 960. It's the name of the thing. A resolve was declared up here. Yeah, you're right. Should I have called it resolver instead? I should have. For consistency's sake. A resolve. Okay. Build. Hey, any questions? I didn't get any questions in the channel, in the form. Here's the thing: if you've never watched this stream before, you can ask me questions, and I'll do my best to try and answer them. And the way that you try and you ask me questions is this episode form has a section where you can ask me questions, and on the stream I will try to answer your question. So if you have any about Firefox or Gecko or C++ or JavaScript or what have you, or writing software for a living, or getting started in open source, that sort of thing, send me a question and I will do my best to answer it. Even if you feel like maybe I've answered the question in the past, I'm happy to rehash things. Still doesn't like it. No matching function, call object type, page icon stream resolver, const function tuple. What's a tuple? I see. I have to pass some kind of tuple down. I can't just pass the two arguments. I have to pass a tuple. So how does that work? Let's see another example. of when we've returned multiple things. Here. This is an example. And so let's see what it looks like whenever something responds to this. And see how it returns stuff. It returns a tuple. Okay. A resolver. Tuple. Oh, I gotta declare what... Maybe, and then I pass it what the things are. Okay, interesting. Tuple, it's going to be a NSC string. What does it want? A tuple NSC string ampersand. And const NSC string ampersand, and then const int 64t ampersand. Whoops, daisy. Right? T ampersand. Do I have to give it anything else? No. And then I pass in the arguments. There might be a better way of formatting that. Let's see how people like to format that. No, parent. Parent. Oh, okay, then they break it up over there. All right, let's try that. Good enough for me. So we need to do the same thing down here. Okay. Now try building. So yeah, you can send me your questions. I'm happy to try and answer them. I'll do my best. If anyone has any questions inside the live chat, I can try and answer them. I don't think we're going to be able to get this fully done during the stream. I've only got a couple minutes left before I close out, but we're quite a bit further. I think we've got a clear path to getting this done maybe today. And so if you want to follow along, you can watch what I eventually post to this bug and to this review request. Links to both are here in the agenda. Oh, still so sad. Sender cannot be... What? Cannot be implicitly captured in a lambda with no capture status. Oh, I need to capture it. Okay. In the lambda. Can I do that? Echo parent. String. Constant string. Let's look at some other examples. A resolver, manager thread, holder, self ref pointer. I might need, what's the sender? Sender is a ref pointer. I think it's okay. I don't need to keep myself alive. The closure should probably keep the sender alive, so that... Oh, am I wrong? Tuple binds to temporary object whose lifetime would be shorter than the lifetime of the constructed object. What? It's in instantiation on line 927 here. reference member head binds to a temporary object. Sure. Tuple console, tuple, literal string char in void. So how do people reject things? Let's take a look at some examples, and then I think I'm gonna call it. So we need to see whenever an async IPC function returns multiple things, what does it look like whenever we reject? Returns. I mean, I guess I could return the structure down. I could do that. Here, result. Async get system icon. Receive get system icon. Resolver byte buff nothing. Get a error. Resolver args. Resolver args is a tuple. Move byte buff return value. Does it matter if I like? Do I have to define the tuple outside? Resolver args. If I do it that way. And then resolver args. I don't see how that could help. I really don't understand what it's complaining about. Reference member mHead binds to a temporary object whose lifetime would be shorter than the lifetime of the constructed object. Here. The element stores the index in the tuple. So it's the same problem. Go like a resolver. Like we never pass a string literal like that, and maybe that is the problem. So I think what we're going to do instead of we're going to do is we're going to make it so that we can just resolve with the info. I'm going to make it RV page icon info. Can we like resolver false resolver nothing. Right, okay, we can resolve with a maybe. So like get untrusted modules data. What we're gonna do is we're gonna maybe return. So returns untrusted modules data, it's gonna be page info, page icon info, info. And then untrusted modules data is a structure. And how is that brought in? Move only, using move only. Probably want to do that move only too. And here's how you bring it in. Move only. So we can, in the IPDL, we're going to say, using Mozilla Places page icon info from page icon protocol handler .h. What is the path? Mozilla Places page icon protocol handler. I just want this to compile, and then I will be happy. Places page icon protocol handler. Page icon info. Okay, so then over here in Neko parent, instead of resolving with we're going to resolve with some info, or we're going to resolve with nothing. I think that'll work. All right, let's find out, and then I'm going to end the stream. SmurfD points at some documentation on reference lifetime of a temporary. This is the documentation. Just the lifetime of the reference where the temporary object or sub-object is denoted by one of the following expressions. What about string literals? I think literals, I was using a string literal, and I have a feeling the string literal only exists kind of like statically. Like it's not, I just don't think it was happy with it. And I can't explain why. But I think this is better anyways. I didn't like the fact that I was returning the empty string and 0. Here we're using like the maybe construct, and so we can say, hey, yes, I'm returning you some info, or I'm passing back nothing, which is better than returning kind of like junk data in the event that something goes wrong. We can just return nothing, which is nice. Let's give this a couple minutes, see if it compiles, and then no matter what, even if it fails, I'm going to end the stream here. Any questions in the audience? Where do we find the agenda page that we're looking at? Oh, someone asks, how much of Firefox is written in Rust now? A significant chunk of it. I think someone did some statistics. Let's see. Statistics, Firefox, Rust, C++. Someone was tweeting about this. Language details of the Firefox repo, May 2022. So here, about just over 10% apparently. I don't know where this information is coming from. A lot of it is JavaScript. Now here's the thing. There's a lot of JavaScript that is not actually being executed. Like we do have a lot of JavaScript to instrument like the UI and stuff, but like a lot of our JavaScript is also tests. And so a significant chunk of this, I think, is tests. We have a lot of C++, a bit of C. Some of these are third-party libraries that we compile to WASM and then run and then out again. RL box magic. That's our build system. So we don't run Python in the browser. That's our build system. These are going to be a lot of tests. That's in the event that you're like, we don't run any Java unless you're running Firefox for Android or Phoenix. There is some assembly, very little bit of assembly. Denshub says, that's not quite correct. I was looking at, are we Rust yet? Do not find a page like this. That thing is counting lines of code in Mozilla Central. Right. So this is like very imprecise, But it gives you an answer. It's just not an accurate answer. I suspect there's a significantly larger proportion of Firefox is written in Rust than what's represented here, and certainly significantly more is written in C++ as well. Like, these numbers are both too low. It's mainly these two and a bit of this, and the rest of this is like tests and build infrastructure. And like things that are written in Rust, like our entire graphics backend for the most part is written in Rust. Significant amounts of these, all of our style engine is written in Rust. Various parts of our media stack are written in Rust. Yeah, there's a lot of Rust. And there are a lot of third-party crates and stuff that we pull in. Like, that's what Dennis is saying, that, you know, is not being represented here. Still won't compile. What's the matter? Unused type alias. Right, it's just complaining because I didn't use this thing. I didn't use the tuple. And then it's also complaining about error, no member named right in page icon info. I wish it just kind of knew how to do it. Instead of making me tell it. Move only using. Maybe I'm doing it the wrong way around. I know we have this thing called IPDLH for defining certain structures. Neko channel params. No? Class. Serialized load context. Channel params. And so maybe we want to add window global types. Oh, that's not exactly the, that's not the definition. Neko channel params, that just includes it. Neko channel params. What is a Neko channel params? I guess it's not defined. Oh, it's in here. Neko channel params. Load info args. Child load info. Channel open args. Creation args, GIO channel creation args. Maybe we can get away with putting this in here. I wonder what the Neko people will think. Cookie jar settings args. Because I can't think of another good IPDLH to put favicon places. Kindly need like a dumping ground. I mean, I guess I could add a new one for places. Was it toolkit? Places. I could add like an IPC folder here and an IPDLH. That might be a good idea in the long run. Profiler, IPC, include, yep, I need to do that, and then what's the other thing? Chromium source, and columns build. It's probably enough to just do that. If I create an IPC folder, it's probably enough to pause.build in here. This is the key part. So I might do that inside of places. Create an IPDLH to define what the structure is. But for now, I could like dump it inside of like the Neko stuff. Just for now. But I'm going to end it here. Hey, thanks so much for watching episode 289 of The Joy of Coding. I hope that was interesting. We never got it to compile, but you know, you got to watch me do some C++ stuff. C++ promises. What a trip. Maybe next week we'll get back to this. I'm trying to only work on this during the stream, so maybe we'll get back to this. I'm hoping to have this wrapped up by the end of either today or tomorrow. So, yeah, we'll see. Thanks again for watching. Let me know what you thought. If you click on this link inside the agenda to rate this episode, you can let me know what you thought. Let me know what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of, and ask me questions and whatnot. And if you need a link again to the Joy of Coding, the agenda for this week and those links, here it is. That's the agenda. I just dropped it into the chat. Yeah, check it out. All right, thanks again for watching episode 289. I hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.